USA is going to take Mexico on in the final for the Gold Cup this Sunday, July 7th. And this is a pretty big rivalry. This is what everybody mostly wanted. That they've been looking forward to this game. Christian Pulisic is going to have to lead USA into this final. He's going to have to be the difference maker, be the one that leads USA to ultimately win the prize, which is the Gold Cup, as well as Raul Jimenez has to do the same for Mexico. Like I said before in other videos, I haven't really seen Mexico being really favoritive or playing the way I would like them to play, but Raul has been a good player. He's been great for Mexico when he's been needed. He's showed up with goals. Mexico comes into this game beating Haiti 1-0 in extra time. They played 2 extra times actually, and I feel like that's going to be a fatigue. And even though they had an extra day to rest more than the USA, I feel it's going to be taken into account. I feel the players that need to show up are the captains, like Andres Guardado. His experience is going to be really needed in this game. He's going to be very crucial to Mexico's success, and he needs to control that midfield if he wants Mexico to actually be able to win this cup. Just like USA, Mexico also has a very young squad that's very equipped with veterans as well. In certain places, Nestor Araujo, Memo Ochoa, you could even say Jimenez, Guardado. Certain players that have been there, they know what's going on. And then USA comes into this game after beating Jamaica 3-1, and after even having a delay, probably like an hour delay in the game as well. It took the players quite a while to get back into the game, but USA ultimately got the win over Jamaica. They have been looking better. They have been playing better. I'm not saying they haven't really faced good opposition, but we'll see what they're made out of. I do rate what they've been doing. They've been winning pretty, not effortlessly, but very convincingly. But this game is going to be much more than just how you play. I feel like this game is a huge rivalry. It's been a huge rivalry over time, and it's going to continue to be that for years to come. And I feel like many of these players, being young, being new to all this situation, they need to adapt, because USA has their history with this rivalry. They've beat Mexico in the World Cup, and that's a bragging right. Mexico doesn't have that bragging right over US. I know this was way back in 2002, back when USA wasn't the team that they are now, as well as Mexico isn't the team that it has now, having all the different type of squads. But in that time, the poster boy was Landon Donovan. He also got on the score sheet, and that just really increased the rivalry here in like the 2000s. In my era, my lifetime, I can't talk about before because I really don't know, but I kind of want to go through like the history of what this meant, of like how this played and how it's going to be played now. And like I said, he was the poster boy of USA. He was like 18 years old, I think, in that time, around that age, maybe like 18 to 20. And scoring this goal was great for him. He said some crazy remarks about Mexico. His ego has also gotten his way. And now that he's older, he's touched on those remarks, and he's apologized also. And he's also said like he was young and he was stupid at that time, but like he's played in Mexico, he knows Spanish, he's changed a lot. But like I said, this 2-0 has been a great thing for USA, where they've literally won important games as well. They won a 2009 qualifier to go to South Africa for the 2010 World Cup, and that was also in Columbus, Ohio. That's basically, even before that, one game was where the 2-0 started. But even after that, the next World Cup, another qualifier, that was in Columbus, Ohio. USA also imposed themselves over Mexico, beating them also 2-0. from goals from Eddie Johnson as well as a goal from Landon Donovan. And you could just see how they have these big old smiles on their face. It just increases the rivalry. It's things that like this is where in these games, in these stadiums, they feel like it's a fortress for them, where they feel more greater. And even the most recent Dos a Cero was also in a friendly, I think a 2015 friendly. It wasn't in Columbus, Ohio, but it was in, I think, Arlington or San Antonio, Texas. It was in Texas. And that's just been the most recent one. I think it was also way back in 2015 as well. And but just like USA has had their victories and things like that, Mexico also has had their victories throughout the years, and they've even had a victory in the Gold Cup as well. I think it was back in 2009. But they've also, I feel like they've won important games, and they also have had their bragging rights for what they have won between this rivalry. And I think theirs is more recent than the USA's, because USA's, the most recent one was 2015. And also that same year, not in a friendly, but in the CONCACAF Cup, the one to determine who was going to go to the 2017 Confederations Cup, Mexico won that. And that was a very high contested game. It was in Pasadena, California. Mexico ultimately won, but it was all the way to the nail. It was in extra time. It was really fought. You could see it in their faces. There was tension from like one of the fouls that Oribe Peralta did on Brad Guzman. And you could just see in this game the tension, the rivalry, how the players feel, what it meant to the Mexican players for winning this important game as well, having those bragging rights, being the best in CONCACAF. And USA was pushing them all the way to the limit, but it was ultimately won from an Pablo Aguilar goal. And like, I don't know what it was, probably like the 115th, 113th, 118th, somewhere around there, those minutes. It was the very last minutes of the extra time as well. That's what won it for Mexico. It was like this little fluke, not a fluke, but like a chip given from Jimenez from a pass that he received, and he just put it up in the air, and Aguilar just hit it first time, and he just put it through, and Mexico ultimately became the CONCACAF Cup champions, which I think it was like a new competition made. And I think it was just because of the recent winners of the CONCACAF, because USA won the 2013 Cup, and then Mexico won the 2011 Cup. So since there was a difference in those cups, they had to play this game. And I feel like if Mexico wins this cup, and since USA won the 2017, they might play this again. But also, even Mexico has won in 2016. I think they also won in, what's it called? And also in World Cup qualifying, while they were trying to go to the 2018 World Cup. Mexico beat the tension, or they beat the stigma of losing in Columbus, Ohio. They beat USA, I think it was like 2-1 in a World Cup qualifier. And that game also as well, USA knowing that place is like a fortress. Actually, USA feeling like they play at home in that stadium because of how they felt and how they've beaten Mexico countless times, and by the same result. Mexico was ultimately able to get the result there. They won 2-1. It wasn't easy for USA. It wasn't easy for Mexico. It was ultimately won by Rafa Marquez, I think, goal towards the end. But that's what it was. Just that little instance of brilliance that could give them the victory. And like I said, this was a very fought game, a very hard fought game, all the way to the nail as well. And it was won in like the 80th, around the 80th to 90th minutes, in between those minutes where the game was ultimately determined. And Mexico won that. They beat the stigma. They beat USA in their fortress, in their house, in their home, in their place of solitude, where they felt unbeaten because of the recent results that USA always got the result of 2-0 there. And Mexico has also even beaten them in the Gold Cup before. The most recent one being in 2011, where I'm pretty sure a lot of people know it. Most Mexican fans know it. They always cheer it when they see that goal of Giovanni Dos Santos did, basically where he taunted Tim Howard, making him come out all the way out of the goal and just playing with them, and then basically turning and just chipping the ball over like 3 players and a player even on the corner, on the post basically, and just putting the ball basically the top bins right there on the far post, the second post, and it was just amazing. Mexico was also losing that game too. They were basically 2-0 down from like the 23rd minute, and they got one back before the half ended. And I think they got 2 back before the half ended. They tied them or something, or maybe they got one back. They were 2-1, and then the half started, and then Pablo Barrera made like 2-1 early in the second half, and then 1 later on. But then the Giovanni Dos Santos goal was just like the icing on the cake. And there was a really great team. A lot of those players that were in that squad are basically probably the veterans that are in the squad now. And both squads are going through a transition period. That was like almost like 10 years ago, basically. And a lot of those players are like really young faces to that Mexican national team. And some of them have stayed and some of them have gone. Some of them have made a name for themselves and some haven't. But like I said, that was just one of the games. Also, in qualifying, like I said, for the World Cup, I think USA didn't lose, but they got a tie in the Azteca, which is a really hard stadium to tie in. It's one of Mexico's fortresses, like one of their main stadiums where they're mostly known. It's a very famous stadium. It's known all around the world. It's where Pele won one of his World Cups, as well as Maradona won his World Cup. It's a very famous stadium, and it's very hard for Americans to not qualify, but to at least get a point there, and they did get that during, I think it was 2016, where they got that point by a Bradley goal. And then the most recent encounter between Mexico and USA, USA actually came out with the win. I'm not sure by who made the goal, but this was basically, these teams were very youthful. They were like basically the transition period teams that I'm talking about. Some of the Mexican players aren't there anymore, probably as well as some of the American players that played this game aren't there as well. But you could see the tension in this game. You could see the rivalry. You could see it spark up again. And even though it's youthful players, even though they are trying to play for a spot on the national team, because that's what was being showcased. It was just the younger players, the younger squads, the team that's gonna represent each nation from here on out for probably the next 10 years. You could just see the tension. It was mostly on display when, I think his name is Mazia, made fun of Diego Lainez's size for being small, but Lainez was making him work extra hard on that wing. He was basically just eating up all the defenders with his speed and his technicality. But you could see the tension between all the Mexican players and the USA players, and you can see what it means to them to win these games, to win these type of matches that are very fought out, that are very hard to win. And just see how the USA celebrated this, as well as how the Mexican team felt the loss. They knew they lost, and they knew they had to get better. And you could see in the interviews, even in Linus, how they would talk about what happened, the altercation, but he just said it's just part of football. It's a part of this rivalry, and they just know the tension. And like I said, this tension has been there for many years. It's been there all throughout these past few decades. I've seen it like firsthand in Gold Cups and friendlies and whatever. It's always been there. It's always going to be there. And these are just some of the moments that have resonated to me. I just wanted to talk about them, wanted to show how it's impacted both of the players' games. Not individual players, but as a team, how it's impacted them, how they know what they're playing for. And I knowing it's a young squad, knowing that they haven't really been on the national team as long as others. Basically, the USA team is just who is it? Josie Altidore and Bob Bradley that have been there since like the beginning, or that have been there more years, and the rest of them are just 24 and under year olds. Like they're new to this. They know that there's gonna be tension. The Mexican team as well is very youthful. A lot of them have had minutes in recent years, and they will know the tension. But this is a hard-fought game, and both of them know the tension. Both of them know what it's gonna take to win this game. And what I expect from this is just a really hard-fought game. Hopefully, we get a lot of goals out of this game. I don't know what to expect. USA's like been averaging like 3 goals a game, except in that Curacao game. But Mexico was also playing really good in the group stage, and then they kind of started slacking off in the knockout stages. I know the Costa Rica game was very hard, and they pressured them from the beginning. They were pressing hard from their half also. And the Haiti game, I felt like it should have been easier. They should have won it in normal time. But like I said, it's going to be a very hard game. Even though Mexico doesn't come into this game like they should have, like I would have liked. And USA seems to be looking like the better team from what they've been doing. This is a rivalry, and it's going to be played way different than how it's been played. And they have really good young talent, especially these two, in my opinion. They're kind of my favorites. Also with Boyd, McKennie, and Pulisic, them playing in Germany. They have the experience. They have the talent. And I feel it could be very clinical. But also the Mexican team has also had some elements that have played in Europe as well. And they're missing some certain players. Right here you can see Chucky Lozano, a very influential player that I wish Mexico had right now, but he was injured. He couldn't be there. But this is the game that the fans wanted to see. It's not so much about Mexico and USA. This is what the fans wanted to see. And one of the things I just wanted to add on here is that there's a lot of tension. This is what I've seen like firsthand of Mexican Americans either going for USA or going for Mexico. Mexican American fans, they mostly identify with what they feel most comfortable with, either what their parents have showed them or how they just certainly feel, if they feel more American or if they feel more Mexican. And just I wanted to put this out there. I feel like don't feel discriminated. Don't feel bad that you want to go for USA instead of Mexico. I haven't really felt this to an extent. I've always been Mexico through and through. But me personally, I was born here. I was born in the States. I've lived here most of my life, and as I've been growing, as I've played in college, singing that national anthem actually means a lot. And I know I really didn't care about USA. My parents are from Central America and Mexico, and I've almost always cared more for those countries because I've lived there as well. And I know the struggle, how it is for Hispanics to live in this country, but you also have to love this country as well. This country is very beautiful. It gives you a lot of opportunities, things you don't have back home in the motherland. And I feel like if you are a Mexican American and you do want to go for USA, you should do it. There shouldn't be anything imposing you not to do it. If people talk bad to you, if people say this or say that, or say you have a nopal or you're a frijol or whatever, and you should be going for Mexico no matter what, you do what you want, because no one has to be in charge of you. You can do what you want. I'm not saying this as a liberty that you can do whatever you want, and it doesn't matter if you're an American, you're better than a Mexican, whatever. I'm just saying we shouldn't be fighting. There shouldn't be this tension, and you shouldn't feel discriminated because you want to go for the country you were born in. Maybe your parents are from Mexico. Maybe your parents are from Central America, whatever, South America. You should go for the country that you feel most attached to, as well as what you just feel, what you want to go for. You can root for all of them if you want to. It doesn't even matter. You should root for whatever you are. But you should never be discriminated or feel less than or feel bad because you want to go for the country you were born in. That's just something I wanted to say. Because, I don't know, I've always had tension with myself. I always said, I hate this country, I hate this, I hate that. And mostly in our social media, in our politics, and things like that, it's been showing us that. We've been having that tension. That USA ain't this, USA ain't that, with Donald Trump here, Donald Trump there, whatever. I'm just saying, you gotta love the country that you're from. And if you're American, you gotta love it. But don't think that you're more or this or that than someone else. And as well as Mexican fans, I know we're over patriotic in whatever we do, Mexican fans or American fans, but we should just calm the tension down. Cause this is not good for the sport. We're here for a soccer game. You need to put things back into perspective. This is just a sport. You're just kicking the ball around. And this is just all entertainment. I know pride goes. I know just being able to say that you won or whatever is going to go a long way. But if it's family, if it's friends, you shouldn't lose that just because of a soccer game or a football game or whatever. There's things that are more important in life, and those are the people that are in it. And especially those that value you. This can go on, this whatever can happen, but it won't affect you, you know? People can make fun of you, people can say this, people can say that. But if you become friends with someone else, you just learn more about them. You don't know. Instead of having a closed-minded, just always hating the opposition, always hating this or that. I mean, maybe in competition, it's allowed. You can do that. But if you're in doing the competition. But this is just a football game. We're out here for the football. We should just enjoy that. You should just crack a cold one with the boys or whatever. And you should just go out there for what you want, you know. Ultimately, we all win because we're all going to get a good game. That's what I think. But I don't know. I think Mexico's going to win. I'm not too sure. I think that will happen, but I don't know. It could go either way. USA could win. Mexico could win. I'll still be happy. I just want to look forward to a good game, and I feel like everyone should too. But that's just my opinion. You don't have to listen to me. I'm just some individual. But all I want to say is just subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment anything, what you thought about the video or anything you want me to talk about in the future. And I'll just keep the videos coming, and I'll talk about more football related news in the future. Stay tuned.